Tohoku earthquake and tsunami struck on March 11, 2011 off the northeastern coast of Japan. The earthquake had a magnitude of 9.0, making it one of the most powerful ever recorded. Its epicenter was located about 70 kilometers east of the Oshika Peninsula, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The sudden movement of tectonic plates triggered a massive tsunami, with waves reaching heights of up to 40 meters in some areas. Within minutes, coastal cities were overwhelmed as walls of water swept inland, destroying homes, roads, and infrastructure. Entire towns were submerged, and thousands of vehicles and buildings were carried away by the force of the water. The tsunami disabled backup power systems at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, leading to one of the worst nuclear disasters since Chernobyl. Explosions and reactor meltdowns released radioactive material, forcing large-scale evacuations and creating long-term environmental consequences. Over 20,000 people were confirmed dead or missing, with the majority of deaths caused by drowning. Rescue operations were launched immediately, but the scale of destruction made it difficult to reach many affected areas. Millions were left without electricity, water, or shelter in the aftermath. The disaster caused widespread economic damage, estimated at over $200 billion, making it one of the costliest natural disasters in history. It also led to major changes in Japan's disaster preparedness, building codes, and nuclear energy policies. Nevado del Ruiz eruption occurred on November 13, 1985, when the Nevado del Ruiz volcano in Colombia erupted after months of increased seismic activity. The eruption itself was relatively small, but it triggered a far more deadly chain reaction. The heat from the eruption melted the volcano's ice cap, releasing massive lahars, fast-moving flows of mud, ash, and water that rushed down the slopes at high speed. These volcanic mudflows traveled through river valleys and reached nearby towns within hours, carrying debris and destroying everything in their path. The town of Armero, located about 74 kilometers away, was the hardest hit. Despite warnings from scientists, evacuation measures were delayed, and most residents were unprepared. When the large struck at night, the town was buried under thick layers of mud, trapping thousands of people. Approximately 23,000 people were killed, making it one of the deadliest volcanic disasters of the 20th century. Many victims died from suffocation, injuries, or being trapped beneath debris. Rescue efforts were hindered by difficult terrain and lack of equipment. The disaster became widely known through the tragic case of Omaira Sanchez, a young girl trapped in the rubble whose ordeal was broadcast worldwide. The eruption exposed major failures in disaster preparedness and communication, leading to significant changes in volcanic monitoring and emergency response systems in Colombia. Krakatoa eruption occurred in August 1883 on the island of Krakatoa in present-day Indonesia. After months of increasing volcanic activity, a series of massive explosions culminated on August 27th, producing one of the most powerful eruptions in recorded history. The explosions were so intense that they were heard thousands of kilometers away, and the shockwaves circled the Earth multiple times. The eruptions sent enormous columns of ash and gas high into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and affecting global climate patterns for years. The most destructive impact came from the tsunamis triggered by the eruption. Massive waves, some over 30 meters high, struck nearby coastlines, destroying coastal towns and killing tens of thousands of people. Entire communities were wiped out within minutes as the waves swept inland. It is estimated that around 36,000 people were killed, with the majority of deaths caused by the tsunamis rather than the eruption itself. Ships were thrown inland and coastal infrastructure was completely devastated. The eruption also caused dramatic atmospheric effects, including vivid sunsets observed around the world due to volcanic particles in the air. The Krakatoa eruption remains one of the most powerful volcanic events in modern history. Mount Tambora eruption occurred in April 1815 on the island of Sumbawa in Indonesia, and is considered the most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded history. The eruption reached a volcanic explosivity index, VEI, of 7, ejecting massive amounts of ash, gas, and debris into the atmosphere. The initial explosions destroyed nearby villages instantly, while pyroclastic flows and ashfall covered large areas of the island. The eruption column rose over 40 kilometers into the sky, spreading volcanic material across vast regions. The immediate death toll from the eruption and resulting flows is estimated to be around 10,000 to 12,000 people. However, the larger impact came in the following months, as ash clouds blocked sunlight and disrupted agriculture across Indonesia and beyond. This led to widespread crop failures, famine, and disease, increasing the total death toll to approximately 71,000 people. The global effects of the eruption caused 1816 to be known as the Year Without a Summer, with unusual weather patterns, cold temperatures, and food shortages reported across Europe and North America. Haiti earthquake struck on January 12, 2010 near the capital city of Port-au-Prince. The earthquake had a magnitude of 7.0, but its shallow depth and proximity to densely populated areas caused catastrophic damage. Within seconds, buildings across the city collapsed, including homes, schools, hospitals, and government offices. Poor construction standards and lack of earthquake-resistant infrastructure made the destruction far worse. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble, trapping thousands of people beneath debris. An estimated 220,000 people were killed and more than 300,000 were injured. Around 1.5 million people were left homeless, forcing large numbers into temporary camps with limited access to clean water and sanitation. Rescue efforts were overwhelmed due to damaged infrastructure, blocked roads, and limited emergency resources. International aid arrived, but coordination challenges slowed relief operations in the critical early days. The aftermath saw outbreaks of disease, including a major cholera epidemic, further increasing suffering. The disaster caused long-term economic damage and exposed severe weaknesses in urban planning, infrastructure, and emergency preparedness in Haiti. Aleppo earthquake occurred on October 11, 1138 in northern Syria, affecting the city of Aleppo and surrounding regions. It is considered one of the deadliest earthquakes in history, striking a densely populated area during a time of ongoing regional conflict. The earthquake caused massive destruction to buildings, fortifications, and infrastructure, including parts of the Aleppo citadel. Many structures collapsed instantly, burying residents under debris. The timing of the quake, during nighttime hours, contributed to the high number of casualties as people were indoors. Reports from historical sources describe widespread devastation across multiple cities and villages. Entire settlements were destroyed, and aftershocks continued to cause further damage in the following days. It is estimated that around 230,000 people were killed, though exact numbers remain uncertain due to the limitations of historical records. Many victims died from collapsing structures, while others succumbed to injuries and lack of medical care. The disaster had long-term effects on the region, weakening infrastructure and populations already strained by conflict. Indian Ocean tsunami was triggered on December 26, 2004, by a massive undersea earthquake off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. The earthquake had a magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3, making it one of the most powerful ever recorded. The sudden movement of the ocean floor displaced huge volumes of water, generating a series of tsunamis that spread across the Indian Ocean. Waves traveling at high speeds struck coastlines in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, and several other countries within hours. In many areas, there was little to no warning system in place, leaving coastal populations unprepared. The waves surged inland, destroying homes, infrastructure, and entire communities. Low-lying coastal regions were completely flooded, and many people were swept away. The disaster killed approximately 230,000 to 280,000 people across 14 countries, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. Indonesia's Aceh province was the worst affected, accounting for a large portion of the fatalities. The scale of destruction led to one of the largest international relief efforts ever organized. The disaster also prompted the development of improved tsunami warning systems and disaster preparedness measures across the Indian Ocean region. Antioch earthquake struck on May 29, 526 in the ancient city of Antioch, located in present-day Turkey near the Syrian border. At the time, Antioch was one of the largest and most important cities of the Byzantine Empire, densely populated and economically significant. The earthquake caused widespread destruction, collapsing buildings, churches, and public structures across the city. Many residents were trapped under rubble as entire sections of Antioch were reduced to ruins. The disaster occurred during a period of celebration, meaning large numbers of people were gathered inside buildings, increasing the number of casualties. Following the initial quake, fires broke out across the city, likely caused by overturned lamps and damaged structures. These fires spread rapidly through the debris, burning survivors who had escaped the initial collapse and further increasing the death toll. It is estimated that around 250,000 people were killed, though exact figures remain uncertain due to limited historical records. Many victims died from collapsing buildings, while others perished in the fires that followed. The destruction severely weakened Antioch, and although rebuilding efforts were undertaken, the city never fully recovered its former prominence. The event remains one of the earliest recorded large-scale urban disasters, with both earthquake and fire contributing to massive loss of life. Haiyuan earthquake struck on December 16, 1920, in the Ningxia Gansu region of China. The earthquake had an estimated magnitude of 7.8 and caused widespread destruction across a large area of north-central China. The region was covered with loose soil, which is highly unstable during seismic activity. As the earthquake hit, massive landslides were triggered, burying entire villages under collapsing hillsides. Many homes, often built into cave-like structures known as yaodongs, collapsed instantly, trapping residents inside. Infrastructure across the region was devastated, with roads, rivers, and farmland severely disrupted. In some areas, the landscape itself was permanently altered due to ground fissures and shifting terrain. It is estimated that around 270,000 people were killed, making it one of the deadliest earthquakes of the 20th century. Many victims died from collapsing homes and landslides, while others succumbed to injuries and exposure in the aftermath. Rescue and relief efforts were extremely limited due to the remote location and the scale of destruction. The disaster highlighted the vulnerability of certain types of terrain and housing structures to earthquake damage, contributing to later studies in seismic safety. Bhola cyclone struck on November 12, 1970 in the Bay of Bengal, making landfall in what is now Bangladesh. It is considered the deadliest tropical cyclone ever recorded, primarily due to the massive storm surge it generated. As the cyclone moved inland, it created a storm surge estimated to be up to 10 meters high, which flooded low-lying coastal areas and islands. Entire villages were submerged within minutes, and many people were unable to escape due to the flat terrain and lack of warning systems. The hardest-hit regions included the Ganges Delta, where dense populations lived in vulnerable conditions. Homes made of lightweight materials were easily destroyed, and crops and livestock were wiped out, compounding the disaster. It is estimated that between 300,000 and 500,000 people were killed, with most deaths caused by drowning. The scale of the disaster overwhelmed local response capabilities, and relief efforts were slow and insufficient in the immediate aftermath. The cyclone had major political consequences, intensifying tensions in the region and contributing to events that led to the Bangladesh Liberation War. Tangshan earthquake struck on July 28, 1976, in the industrial city of Tangshan in northeastern China. The earthquake had a magnitude of around 7.5 to 7.6 and occurred in the early hours of the morning when most people were asleep. Within seconds, large sections of the city were completely destroyed as buildings collapsed across residential and industrial areas. Tangshan was densely populated, and many structures were not built to withstand strong seismic activity, leading to massive casualties. The impact was intensified by aftershocks that continued in the following hours, further damaging already weakened structures and complicating rescue efforts. Infrastructure such as roads, railways, and communication systems was severely disrupted, isolating the city. The official death toll was reported as around 242,000. But some estimates suggest the number could be as high as 500,000 to 600,000. Most victims died due to building collapses, while many others were trapped under debris. Rescue operations were carried out under extremely difficult conditions, with limited equipment and resources. The disaster led to significant changes in earthquake preparedness and building standards in China, making it one of the most studied seismic events in modern history. 1556 Shaanxi earthquake struck on January 23, 1556, in Shaanxi province in northern China. It is considered the deadliest earthquake in recorded history, with an estimated magnitude of around 8.0. The region was densely populated and known for its loose soil, where many people lived in cave dwellings called yadongs carved into hillsides. When the earthquake struck, these structures collapsed instantly, burying entire families inside. The shaking caused widespread destruction across multiple provinces, leveling cities, damaging infrastructure, and triggering landslides. Entire landscapes were altered, with ground fissures and collapsing terrain affecting large areas. It is estimated that around 830,000 people were killed. The majority of deaths were caused by collapsing dwellings and landslides, while many others died from injuries, exposure, and lack of medical care in the aftermath. 1887 Yellow River flood occurred in September 1887 when the Yellow River overflowed its banks in Henan Province, China. Years of sediment buildup had raised the riverbed above the surrounding land, making the region highly vulnerable to catastrophic flooding. After heavy rainfall, the river's dikes failed, releasing massive volumes of water that spread rapidly across the plains. Floodwaters covered thousands of square kilometers, submerging entire villages, farmland, and infrastructure within a short period of time. The sudden flooding caused immediate deaths by drowning, while many others were trapped in their homes or swept away by the current. Survivors were left without shelter, food, or clean water, leading to widespread famine and disease in the following months. It is estimated that between 900,000 and 2 million people died as a result of the disaster. A significant portion of the deaths occurred after the initial flooding due to starvation and outbreaks of illness. Eastern Mediterranean earthquake occurred on May 20, 1201, affecting a vast region across the Eastern Mediterranean, including parts of modern-day Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and surrounding areas. It is considered one of the deadliest earthquakes in history due to the scale of destruction across multiple major cities. The earthquake caused widespread collapse of buildings, fortifications, and infrastructure in densely populated urban centers, such as Damascus, Beirut, and other cities in the region. Many structures were built from stone and masonry, which failed catastrophically during the intense shaking. Historical accounts describe entire neighborhoods being destroyed, with large numbers of people buried under rubble. Aftershocks continued to strike the region, causing further damage and preventing rescue efforts from progressing effectively. It is estimated that around 1.1 million people were killed, though exact figures are uncertain due to limited historical records. Many victims died instantly from collapse in structures, while others perished from injuries, fires, and lack of aid in the aftermath. The disaster had long-term effects on the region, weakening cities and populations already facing political and military challenges. China floods occurred between June and August 1931, affecting vast regions of central and eastern China, particularly along the Yangtze, Yellow, and Huai River basins. A combination of heavy rainfall, snowmelt, and multiple cyclones caused rivers to overflow on an unprecedented scale. The floodwaters spread across enormous areas, submerging entire cities, farmland, and villages. In many places, the water remained for months, destroying crops and displacing millions of people. Transportation and communication systems collapsed, making rescue and relief efforts extremely difficult. Millions were left homeless, and overcrowded conditions led to severe shortages of food and clean water. This resulted in widespread famine and outbreaks of diseases such as cholera and dysentery, which significantly increased the death toll beyond the initial flooding. It is estimated that between 1 million and 4 million people died, making it the deadliest natural disaster in recorded history. Many deaths occurred not only from drowning but also from starvation and disease in the prolonged aftermath. The disaster exposed major weaknesses in flood control and disaster response systems at the time and led to future efforts to improve river management and infrastructure in China.